Hi mages, welcome back to Zilman's Wizarding World and the Arthur Weasley's Game Mechanics Workshop. Yes, I give things extraordinarily long titles. Coffeeed up now, we're going to tackle Fortresses, which is the most complex feature in the game. So this is the running order. We're going to do solo versus team play, go through the Rune Stones, chambers, glossary of terms, basic mechanics, how focus works, and then a lot of stuff around group play. So buffing, mechanics, debuffing, and then how to work as a team. And then we'll sort of gloss over some of the rewards. They are rather random. So some of the basic mechanics of like solo play. If you're going to play solo play, it doesn't actually matter what your profession is too much. They are quite well balanced, as in they all have weaknesses and advantages over each other, as displayed here. So this is compared to certain foundable types. So magic zoologists are better than professors at some things, auras are better than others, professors are better at others, and then each have their own elements that they can bring to group play. One key thing to note is as you progress through your lessons and build up your skills tree, things like critical hit rate go up, the damage dealt goes up, and your defense gets better, and things like that. One thing to note is if you're walking around on the map and you see a fortress with a green sort of glow around the outside, that means someone is playing there already. So if you want to join up and team up, you can actually go and visit them and see if they will participate with you. It's probably best to do this once you've got a bit of confidence in it, because it's always a bit easier to do something when you know what you're doing. Which is the reason for this video. So the basic mechanics of doing a fortress is you turn up, you click on the fortress, you pick your level, and if you're just starting, it's going to be level 1, chamber 1, and then you drop in a rune stone. Now, the rune stones denote, or kind of give you an idea of what encounters you're going to have. So if you're a magic zoologist and you're soloing, then drop in a magic zoology rune stone and you will have a distinct advantage against those enemies. But also you have to bear in mind that some of the rewards you get are unique and you cannot collect them in the wild. So if you need some stickers, then sometimes you're just going to have to go with a runestone that's not your strongest point. So how do you get runestones? That is through your day-to-day play. So as you beat confoundables and free the foundables, you'll be awarded runestones. These runestones are different levels, so if you apply like a level 6 runestone, it'll make it harder on the fortress. So a combination of the fortress level that you're playing, or the chamber level you're playing, and the runestone kind of shows how hard your encounter is. And also, naturally, the harder the encounter, the better the reward. Now, once you complete, say, chamber 1, it will unlock chamber 2. And this will unlock it across all fortresses across the map. So you don't have to unlock every single fortress. So that's quite a cool thing. Saves you a lot of grinding that way. So a quick glossary of terms before we move on. One thing is called critical hit. That is if you're hitting an opponent with spells, you'll get a critical hit, hopefully, and that'll do a lot of damage. It's kind of like getting in under someone's guard in boxing. Now a thing called focus. Now a focus essentially is a set of points, and you get them along the bottom of the screen as a little progress bar. Now, focus is when you focus your mind, exactly, and then you can apply a buff or a debuff. And buffing is when you help your teammates by sort of doing a spell on them to increase their, say, power, or heal them, or revive them. And a debuff is what you apply to enemies that weakens them. So things like damage over time, you can cast that onto an enemy. You can actually do a thing where, as a professor, you can cast a spell on them that when they deal damage to you, they get damaged in return, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of a basic glossary of terms moving forward. So basic mechanics. Once you select the fortress, select your chamber, pop your runestone in, you then enter the chamber. Now, this chamber is where lots of magical things happen. More so in group play than in solo. So you enter the chamber, choose your enemy, cast any debuffs on them, or actual heals on yourself, you can, and then engage in combat and play those combat mechanics. Everything is a combat encounter, so everything is a fight, essentially. There's a foundables and confoundables video that I have as well, if you want to catch up on that, to see what types there are. And then you either attack or defend. So attack is casting the spell on the screen. Well, actually, attack is dragging that reticule down so it lines up and the little circle goes round, then casting a spell. Now, some enemies are quite wily and they move around the screen, so lining up that little reticule thing is a right pain in the bum. Urklings think mostly a little bit of a bummer. There are currently 5 attack moves, and Protego is your only defense. So just remember to cast that when you need to. Again, if you cast Protego, you will get some damage, but hopefully not too much. And then depending on what chamber you do, depends how many sort of enemies you get, and then you kind of work your way through them within the 5-minute timer to beat them all, and then you can start the next chamber. You don't always have to start in the same chamber, you can always enter a fortress at whatever level you left it at. So, our focus. How does it work? How do we reveal it? Well, some of it can be controlled through your profession's tree, so your base focus, the focus you start at, and your focus cap, so how much focus you can have in total. Now beyond that, when you engage foes, some will give you focus in return for beating them. Now as far as I'm aware, this focus is given to everybody in the team, so it's worth doing it. And as a team, we'll go for the team play in a minute, but essentially you beat the foe, certain foes, with this icon, and you get awarded focus in return. So if you've got 3 foes to battle and you're doing solo and you're low down on focus, pick the one with that focus symbol and it will give you a reward, and then you can apply a debuff onto your next enemy. Another way of gaining focus is by potions. Now, it's always good to have a decent stock of potions when doing fortresses, especially healing potions. But also, yes, the potion here, which I can't remember the name of, it will give you focus. Okay, so now we're moving on to group play. Now this is kind of where it really kicks off. So again, everyone has to enter a rune stone. And this will give, in essence, a mixture of all the enemies will be from these rune stones. And then rewards will be given to all players, and they're again based upon the runestone and the chamber level. Now you can be wise about choosing your runestones. You can choose runestones that match the professions that are going in. So if you've got a magic zoologist, make sure you chuck in magic zoology runestone in there to play to their strengths. Now when you're in the chamber with a group, in the example we've got here, I did it with my wife, and you can see both of our icons on the top with our current stamina level. Each person has an assigned colour up the top there, and when they're engaged in combat, Professor's hat will appear against who they're in combat with, so you can see who is combating what foundable. Now, if you ever take a look at one of these foundables, you'll see it has a number and a star rating. This indicates the level and difficulty of that sort of encounter, and also you have an icon on the top left. Now, this icon, it says what kind of encounter it is, so an oddity, carry magical creatures, etc. And then you will either have no icon, an up arrow green, or a down arrow in red. Now this is based upon the triangle of professions, so it's whether you have an advantage, a disadvantage, or you are neutral against that encounter. So you may also, as a team, want to play to your strengths, so everyone goes for the right one. Again, this is kind of controlled by your runestones, so if you thought wisely about your runestone deployment, you should have encounters that everyone at least should have a green with. Again, on the bottom left is the focus reward, so if you get a little pink icon there, that will give us focus as a team. And so if someone's getting low on focus, make sure you hit those first. And I think one of the professions, can't remember which one now, can transfer focus. It's also a good idea, if you come out of your encounter and other people are still in encounters, to just have a look at the stamina bar of your friends and the debuffs on your enemies. You should be able to see if someone is struggling. And if they are struggling, you can either deal one of your own spells to buff your friend, as in like heal their stamina, or debuff their enemy to give them a little bit of a hand. So you can't engage directly with that encounter, but you can help them out passively. Once you're in combat yourself, that's it. You can't help your teammates. You're kind of on your own. So communication is key. Now, what happens when you run out of stamina is you get knocked out. Not knocked out of the game, but just kind of like knocked out in the chamber. Now, you either sit there for 30 seconds and ponder your life decisions, or if you have a magic zoologist at hand, they can actually bring you around. Assuming they have the focus points. I don't even know if it needs a focus point, but anyway, some do need focus, some don't need focus. So, Magic 9X, Wizards Unite Redditor, had a few tips for us before the game was released, and he was saying he did a lot of group play, or they were doing a lot of group play. I don't know if it's he or she, or somewhere in the spectrum. They were saying you almost have someone out of combat if you're going in as a team, purely because you kind of work through them. So you always have someone there that can start buffing and debuffing. There are also no level restrictions, as in player level restrictions, up until some of the later levels. So if you have someone on a really low level, like a low level player, the team can actually carry them quite far in the game, and they can get quite lots of bonuses and rewards. So make sure they have a brain elixir on, and you can really bring them up to speed. This is useful if you're going to play with them in the future, because they can help you out if they're a higher level. And just to give you an example, he was saying around about the 7th and 8th tier of the fortress, or the chamber, he says they're generally fighting at level 55 or 65 enemies. They have around about 200 health points, and if they hit him, it's 50 to 60 health points taken off of his 200. So yeah, it gets quite intense further the way up. So what is your reward for all this hard work? Well, put in high Rune Stones, do high levels, get nice rewards, including entries that only go into the challenges registry. So that's things like wands, which are really hard to get, and you need to collect quite a lot of them to get anywhere near prestiging it. Another one is XP, so stick on the old Buffalo's Brain Elixir. So each chamber is 5 minutes, so you can get quite a few runs on a Brain Elixir. And books for your skill tree are very handy, obviously, especially for as you work your way up. And of course, we all have to wait for the event books, the green ones, the restricted section books, which you can only get at events, but that's another story and another video. You can also get rewards for your normal registry as well, some rare foundables that you just can't find anywhere else, they don't actually spawn anywhere else. So that's definitely worth it too. But most of all, it's all about having fun with your teammates and battling together and working as a team. Also, yeah, you can solo it, but it's not nearly as exciting. But yes, it's probably worth soloing it if you happen to be there, have the energy, because you're going to get those rewards anyway. Not as good as if you do it as a team, but definitely worth doing it for those rare foundables for your registry. So that about concludes this video. I think I've covered all the bases now. I say any questions will be in a pinned comment. Hopefully there shouldn't be many, because I did spend quite a bit of time researching this one and also playing it. So without further ado, get your wands ready, brush up on your spells, Wizards Unite.